Just go back make a candle.
The honorable who is buying an item, kindly mute your microphone for us.
People they did them a room they enjoy you will sit there they watch that. So what do they get from it?
That is the one that they're updating there.
Youth Empowerment Cost.
All right, so we are all set. Right, honorable Speaker, we are all set. So you have the floor now. Honorable Mandela, mute your microphone. Right, honorable Speaker.
Good evening, honorable members. I believe the right honorable speaker, okay, he has rejoined, but this is Bernard Bongo speaking, the first deputy speaker, take charge. But now I think he's back online. So, right honorable speaker, Stephen, please, you can take over from here. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Right honorable, thank you. So if we have the leaders in the House, honorable members, should I have indication from the majority and then the minority leader to know whether we have all leaders present? So for us to start proceedings.
Thank you very much. My right honorable.
Okay, I can see. Okay, yeah, the majority leader is in the House. Minority leader, are you around? Please, can you hear me properly?
Yeah. Hello, please. The deputy minority leader is around, please.
All right. Thank you so much, honorable members, and welcome to today's sitting. Shall we pray? Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this parliament of Yek. Grant that it may give divine guidance to affairs of parliament and ministers with assignment and vision, integrity, land and people may be well and truly. Amen. And thy good purpose for the common human. O God, grant us vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, he shall be done away with, shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving. A country of peace, where government shall work for the common good. Bless the effort of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, because of network issues, my deputy in one way or the other might be taken in any time that I am offline or I am not in the chamber. So a situation where I have a problem, with my network, my deputies, those who are available, the first or the second deputy will take over, right? So thank you all for coming this evening. Majority Leader.
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker.
Majority Leader, can you unmute yourself and speak?
Right Honorable Speaker. I didn't actually get your first sentences.
Okay, if I should repeat myself again, what I was trying to say is that because of network issues, a situation where I am not online or I am off the chamber, the first deputy speaker will take over and then sits in my place whenever I come back to take over. That is what I'm trying to let the House be aware of, that in case of anything, people wouldn't be disturbed. But why should I be there and then my deputies are working, right? So we should understand. And I advise that the caucus leaders to also act in that manner. The situation where the leaders are not around because of network issues, their deputies should work that we can have this evening session in a good manner so that everybody will all live here on time, right? That is what I'm trying to say. I hope you understand now.
Rightly noted, Right Honorable Speaker.
Okay. Any indication from your leadership?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. The Majority Caucus is ready and waiting on your directions. Thank you very much.
Okay. If that's the case, then shall we proceed with the business of the day? If that's the case, shall we proceed with the business of the day? Majority, can you tell us what we have on the other paper today? What we have to deal with? What is the business for the House this evening?
All right, Right Honorable, thank you very much for the opportunity offered. I am Honorable Timothy Tuabu, the Majority Caucus Leader of YMP, Volta OT Regional House, and the Minister for Education, YEC, Volta OT. As a matter of duty, as mandated by the standing orders in Order 109 of this House, I, Honorable Timothy Tuabu, deem it fit to introduce the business of this August House to all honorable members here present. The business before this honorable House is the motion, the deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy, thus solely government mismanagement, and it is to be debated on by the Majority Caucus and the Minority Caucus. While the majority is speaking against, the minority will be speaking for the motion before the House. Mr. Speaker, with all clear indications, it seems to me the House is ready. Hence, I, Honorable Timothy Tuabu, in the capacity of the Majority Caucus Leader, duly move the motion before this August House to be debated on. Thank you very much, Right Honorable.
Majority Leader, we can't hear you. Can you reposition yourself?
Oh, okay, Right Honorable. Is it clear now? Right Honorable, is it clear now?
Yeah.
Honorable Majority Leader, I think the House has been well informed of the business of the House, and we may proceed.
Thank you very much.
Any secondment. Honorable Minority Leader, please, if you're in the House, please unmute and indicate your side of the business. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the honor done me. Right Honorable Speaker, the House. I am Honorable Charles Kwame Mapok, leader of the Minority Caucus and YMP for the good people of Whole Central. I rise to second the motion before the House as we begin the proceedings for the debate. I'll take this opportunity to entreat all of us to make sure as we write history today, we write it with the true and the facts of the day, and nobody should go around peddling falsehood. Thank you very much. Motion duly seconded.
Thank you, Minority Leader. Shall we proceed then with the debate? And since the minority is speaking for the motion, I will invite the first speaker to speak. That's Honorable Christopher Adoku, YMP Boem constituency and Deputy Minority Leader. If you're on call, please unmute and get the ball rolling. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Right Honorable Speaker. I hope you can hear me clearly. Mr. Speaker, all protocols duly observed. The motion before the August House is quote and unquote the deplorable state of the economy, that's solely government mismanagement. I am Honorable Christopher Komlado, YMP for Boem constituency, and again the Deputy Minority Leader for the Noble Volta and OTYMP. I rise confidently to speak for the motion. In order to draw the curtain, Mr. Speaker, I would like to explain some terms in the motion before the Noble House. Quote and unquote, the deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy, that's solely mismanagement of government. According to Oxford Dictionary, Mr. Speaker, deplorable means shockingly bad in quality. Economy means the relationship between production, trade, and the supply of money in a particular country or region. Mismanagement means the process of managing something badly or wrongly. And government means a group of people with the authority to govern a country or state or a particular ministry in office. Mr. Speaker, in other words, the motion of the House means the poor state of the economy is solely the result of poor government management. Mr. Speaker, I am aware that my opponent will ignorantly make the claim that Ghanaians are the blame for the country's miserable economic situation. Hello? Mr. Speaker, I would like to know who appoints Ghanaian citizens to positions of authority. Who distributes the nation's riches or resources to Ghanaians? Who then oversees the activities of these Ghanaian citizens who have been appointed? I am sure that the government will be your response, Mr. Speaker. This demonstrates unequivocally that the government is responsible for the deploration and the betterment of the economy. Mr. Speaker, the current administration is held responsible for Ghanaians' miserable economic situation. Why did I say this, Mr. Speaker? I said this because during the time of the NDC's previous administration, the CD to dollar exchange rate was approximately 4 to 1 for each. And Ghanaians along the current administration, which was in opposition, aggressively blamed the NDC government for its poor management. This fact is retrieved from www.pulse.com, titled Flashback CD Depreciation West and Mahama. You might be interested to know, Mr. Speaker, The present administration campaigned on a platform of arresting the dollar, which means they will succeed by lowering the cedi to dollar exchange rate. And lo and behold, they are in power as I talk to you right now. As we speak, Mr. Speaker, the cedi to dollar exchange rate is almost 10 to 1 exchange rate, according to a source retrieved from www.google.com, titled Exchange Rate. It indicates that Ghanaians' populace have been let down by the current administration. It is once again abundantly obvious that the current administration has automatically acted as a helpful catalyst to quicken the cedi and dollar exchange rate of the preceding administration NDC. Mr. Speaker, if you compare the ratios of the cedi and the dollar for two administration, which you have already done, you will see that the previous administration has a ratio of 3 and the current administration has a ratio of 9, which indicates that the current administration has mismanaged the nation's resources and is to blame for the deplorable state of the economy. This is because the smaller the ratio difference between the cedi and the dollar, the better the economy. Mr. Speaker, my opponent will argue that the Russia and Ukraine war and the COVID-19 pandemic are to blame for the terrible status of the economy. Mr. Speaker, I will not sit here and watch them sling such a thick debt in our faces. Our nation, Mr. Speaker, is not the only country that was affected by these catastrophes.
Honorable, you have 1 minute more. So you should be winding up. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I am sure, after realizing from the facts that the current government is responsible for the deplorable conditions of our beloved country, you and the entire House will rally to my side in acknowledging that the deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy is solely a result of mismanagement of the current government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minority Leader, Honorable Christopher Komala Adoku, for that submission. Honorables Richard Serum, if you're on call, please unmute as you speak for the minority side. The majority side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I hope everyone can hear me. I want to say a good evening to all our members who, out of their busy schedule, find time and sitting. My name, as said, is Honorable Richard Seram Mensah, the YMP for the good people of West and the majority chief whip of this noble house. Mr. Speaker, before I proceed, I want to set a record straight that it is my strong belief that by the end of this sitting, YEC will have no option than to declare the Volta OT regional house, of which we are the speaker, as the region of the year and present awards to us when we meet in our face-to-face meeting. And I hope the organizers of this award scheme are listening to me and will do the needful. Now, Mr. Speaker, to the motion before the August House. The deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy, that's solely government mismanagement. Mr. Speaker, we all understand the motion clearly, hence there is no need for anybody to be explaining the motion for us again. Mr. Speaker, since the inception of this motion, this topic to be the motion for today, I've been thinking how, and how could the respected minority lower their thoughts to this level to perceive that the problems we are facing as a country is solely government mismanagement. Mr. Speaker, this evening, since the minority decided to be unfair to this August House, what we in the majority will do is to school them, Mr. Speaker, educate them so that they will know and they will know, that next time when issues like this pop up, they will know how to speak about it. And I also want to set the record straight, Mr. Speaker, we in the majority of us, we never said anywhere that government is not to be blamed for the suffering of the Ghanaian people. But for the minority to say that it is solely government mismanagement, Mr. Speaker, is problematic. Mr. Speaker, since the time given to me is very short, I will speak to two fundamental things that draw us back, yet we don't want to admit. Just two, Mr. Speaker. And before I do that, Mr. Speaker, I want to quote a favorite quote by Mr. Paubrey Wachidankwa. And I quote, "The political party of every youth is and must be the Ghana flag. The political party of every youth is and must be the Ghana flag." I believe we all know whom Mr. I'm learning in the YMP virtual meeting. So, Mr. Speaker, with this, I believe before we speak to this, we will speak like youths and know what is expected of us. With that, Mr. Speaker, my first fundamental activity that I want to speak about is corruption. Mr. Speaker, we all understand what corruption means. Hence, I don't need to define it. I believe strongly by now the minority will be thinking like, is this guy really talking about corruption? Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm the 2016 president, and I mean the president of the time, His Excellency John Evans Fifi Atamel, the late, has to leave his duties and move to the custom division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Mr. Speaker, this is a state institution mandated to raise funds in form of taxes to build a resilient economy for all of us. Just to charge them, Mr. Speaker, he was there just to charge them to put a stop to their corrupt activities. Mr. Speaker, isn't this a big shame on the part of some of our public servants? Mr. Speaker, the last Afrobarometer report shows that our security services,
Honorable, you have 1 minute more,
are the most corrupt in the country. I would like to share some experience, but since you say I have 1 minute more, I won't go there again. Mr. Speaker, a study also conducted by the GI, Ghana Integration Initiative, suggested that 17.4 million in bribes were paid in 2021, and the police officers are topping that. So, Mr. Speaker, these are taxes, or these are monies that are supposed to be used by the government in fixing the economy. So, if these monies are not coming, how do we then blame government? Profit on the sale of essential goods, especially during times of emergency. Mr. Speaker, who will say that we are not in times of emergency? The Speaker, as a matter of fact, will just 5 cities, come home and come and sell it for 10 cities or 15 cities. The Speaker, with this kind of fact,
Honorable Richard, please,
Mr. Speaker,
wind up. Time is up. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker. So in winding up, Mr. Speaker, it is bad for the minority to think that government is solely responsible for the mismanaging of the economy. I believe if we stop our corrupt activities and then we stop the excess profiteering, our market women and men, stop the excess profiteering, we will not be, even though there will be hardship, but I believe it will not be as much as
Thank you.
Thank you,
Honorable. Thank you, Honorable Richard. Sarah Mensah. We'll take the next speaker from the minority side. If Honorable Joshua Morgan is online, he should unmute and address the House. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I hope you can hear me very well, Mr. Speaker.
I can hear you clear and well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and a very good evening to all honorable members, especially our leaders, the minority and then the majority leaders who are present, and also all those who are here to witness. Mr. Speaker, I would want to go straight, but first of all, I would want to make a point by trying to correct our colleague who just spoke. Mr. Speaker, he made mention of the security forces that have been recorded as one of the most corrupt institutions. Mr. Speaker, I would want to first of all remind him that he should get it clear that the leadership of these security agencies are being appointed by government. It tells you that, and also he shouldn't forget that the president of these states is the commander-in-chief of both the Ghana Armed Forces and also the police security services. Mr. Speaker, if by so doing, at the end of the day, if these so-called institutions are being brought into the records to be corrupt, it points out clearly that the president, who is the leader of these agencies, is also part of these corrupt activities because his people are those who are in charge and leading, who represented him over there. Mr. Speaker, I also want him to understand that he should get it clear that any of these people who are representing the president saw all these things happening, they know about it, yet they supervise those things to keep going on. So that at the end of the day, we can conclude by saying that it is the government that is responsible for many of these occurrences, since it is their representatives, their appointees that are in charge of these security services. Mr. Speaker, I would want to proceed. When our colleague from the other side started to speak, he started by stating so many things that were so baseless to my point of view. And I want to be very clear that the Honorable Speaker and then other colleague honorable members in this House saw it clear that he had nothing to present to this House from the beginning. Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to be here because he came to tell us how dishonest they have been to the people of this country, but not being ready to accept the responsibility for their failure, for where they have brought this economy to. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, the current economy is on its knees, wailing, looking for help to be able to come back to its toes. Mr. Speaker, I would want to start by saying, if my colleagues from the other side have read the Auditor General's report, today they wouldn't have come to this House to even come to make any attempt of debating on this topic, because the Auditor General's report has spelled it out clearly how government institutions led by government appointees have led this country to where we are today. He started by saying, and when my colleague was speaking, he started by saying that they should never in any way attempt to mention the occurrences of COVID-19 and that of the Russian-Ukraine war on the reason why we are where we are. Mr. Speaker, I would want to go straight to point out something that we can point by saying that the current state of the economy is not anybody's responsibility, but that of the current government. Mr. Speaker, in August 2017, when this government came into power, just 6 months after, they went in to talk about the cleanup of the banking sector. Mr. Speaker, the cleanup of the banking sector saw a collapse of about 6 local banks, where some of them were being combined to form the CBG, Consolidated Bank of Ghana, and several others of them also being collapsed. Mr. Speaker, I would want to say that one would have expected that the history that we recorded in 2000, that led to the collapse of the Housing and Construction Bank, which was one of the local banks that were superseding most of the constructions and other building and other infrastructure activities in this country. The collapse of this would have been a lesson for us to not make any attempt in collapsing any local bank in this country. But Mr. Speaker, this is a government that is not ready to learn from the past. And this is a government that is not ready to listen, even when everybody is blowing the alarms for them to listen to. Mr. Speaker, the collapse of these banks in 2017, which started in August 2017 and ended in January 2020, saw the collapse of the number of 6 banks, which are indicated. Mr. Speaker, let's be clear that many of these banks were serving several local businesses in this country that were thriving and paying tax to the, tax revenue collection in this country. Mr. Speaker, the collapse of these banks led to the collapse of several local businesses, because the collapse of these local banks were the local banks were their sources of support for them to be able to thrive. But Mr. Speaker, when these local banks were being collapsed, the local businesses also had to collapse because their source of funding were collapsed. Mr. Speaker, again,
Honorable, you have 1 minute.
Again, Mr. Speaker, these local banks had employed several meaningful Ghanaians who were equally paying tax on their salaries to the adding up to the revenue collection in this country. Mr. Speaker, when all these banks were collapsed, many of thousands of Ghanaians lost their jobs, which means there was a decline in the revenue collection that we were going to get in this country. And as a result, the economy is never going to survive it. Mr. Speaker, again, the presidential travels in this country costed us huge sums of money. One of the presidential travels, even in the period of COVID-19 and all the hardships that we have been going through, costed this country 62,578,000 222 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, this was just on a trip. And again, this trip costed an amount of 5.8 million. And again, 1.9 million was spent on accommodation and refreshment. Mr. Speaker, one would want to ask, was the president traveling with the whole country to be on this trip? Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable. Your time is up. Thank you for your submission.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable House, we now have the right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Stephen Sedoke in the House, please. Thank you. Right Honorable Stephen, please. Can you mute and take over?
All right. Honorable, thank you so much for being my support. I've been struggling with network, and as I indicated earlier, yes. So if any leader is also struggling one way or the other, we should get support. Just like I have one, and you can all see he's doing very well. Right. So we'll proceed. I'll call on Honorable Joshua to unmute and present to the House. So Honorable Joshua, you can take the floor now.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. And I would like to say good evening to all honorable members. I'm Honorable Joshua Jakba, representing the good people of Agbotimesofi constituency, and also the YA Minister for Employment and Labor Relations for OT and Volta chapter. Honorable Speaker, the motion before this House is the deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy. That's solely government mismanagement. And I rise to speak against this pathetic fallacy, a motion that is dead on arrival and a nebulous one of that matter. Mr. Speaker, permit me to lay some foundation by stating that Ghana's economy is a mixed economy, which government controls sections of the economy and private individuals and industries control the rest, where market forces play major roles in such economy. Mr. Speaker, some major factors affecting Ghana's economy, which the minority has failed to consider, are some favorable, which the minority has failed to consider, are some unfavorable external environmental forces, which governments have little or no control over, which are but not limited to inflation, depreciation, fluctuations in foreign direct investment. Mr. Speaker, inflation is defined as the rise in price of goods and services, and a lot of factors are responsible for this economic problem. The world inflation rate as at 2020 stood at 1.9% and increased to 3.4% in 2021, of which Ghana is not of exception. Since Ghana is a net importer of consumer and intermediate goods, the rise in prices in the international markets will definitely affect the economy. Mr. Speaker, on 22nd February 2022, the German government froze the Nord Stream pipeline between Russia and Germany, causing natural gas price to rise significantly in the international market, and its impact on the energy supply extends globally. In addition, Mr. Speaker, Russia and Ukraine accounted for 27% of the world's wheat exports and 53% of the world's sunflower oil, and Ukraine alone contributes 11.5% to the world corn export, just to mention few. On 24th February 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the invasion caused these products unable to reach the international market, causing shortages and resulted in dramatic rise in price that exacerbated to foodstuff prices in the international market. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, the price of Brent crude oil per barrel rose from $97.93 on 25th February to a high of $127.98 on 8th of March. This caused petrochemicals, and other goods reliant on crude oil to rise in price as well. And I ask the minority, why blame the global surge on this government? Mr. Speaker, when we come to depreciation of the currency, as our minority caucus are saying, the minority fail to appreciate and understand that Ghana is an import-dependent economy. Because of this, the country continues to buy foreign currency to meet its demands, with less supply of foreign exchange from its exports. Sometimes, Mr. Speaker, the country records a net gain with export earnings exceeding import costs, but these are paper gains. The actual money is repatriated by the foreign companies that operate in the country. We have to understand that retention law in Ghana is not effective to restrain them from repatriating all their profits. Mr. Speaker, our colleagues from the minority caucus can bear with me. The depreciation of the cedi has always been seasonal, and it is worse between February to March every year. Why? Because this is the period during
Honorable Joshua, you should be preparing to bring your presentation to an end.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I think his network has failed him and he should be given some minutes because it is not something he has done consciously. Thank you very much.
Okay, is he back online? If it's not back, then we'll continue. We'll continue. Majority Leader, is he back?
Right, Honorable. I'm not sure he's in the chamber yet.
That's okay.
Yes.
So I think his point is well. Is he back now?
Sure.
Honorable Joshua, are you online? Are you back to the chamber? Okay, I believe his point is well made.
Let's proceed. Yeah, let's proceed.
That's fine. So from the minority caucus. Can you hear me properly? If you can hear me, please take the seat and present to the House.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
All right, thank you. Yeah, good evening, honorable members. Good evening, Right Honorable Speaker. I am Honorable Kingdom Atipo, YMP for Akachi South and Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation for the good people of Volta OT, and also a member of the minority caucus of our August House. Mr. Speaker, quickly, I will not spend time on defining the motion before the House because the speakers that precede me have done that already. However, Mr. Speaker, I would like to direct your attention to something interesting. Mr. Speaker, you and I know that we are not the custodians of the public purse. Right now, the public purse is not in your custody. You are not in charge of it, and I am not. and the majority is well aware. Mr. Speaker, of course, the good people of Ghana have given mandate to a group of people and someone in particular to lead them. But it appears that our leader, His Excellency, the President of the Republic, and then his economic management team have misplaced priorities. Things that they're supposed to do, Mr. Speaker, things that they're supposed to do, policies that they have to implement to underburden the suffering Ghanaians, the already suffering Ghanaians, they are overlooking those things. Mr. Speaker, as a matter of truth, it is surprising that if you cannot manage what you inherit, if you cannot manage what you have already received, if you cannot even create one of your own, why can't you just manage that one, the one that you have already received? Mr. Speaker, let's go down a memory lane. In 1997, the Road Fund Act was passed. And in that act, sorry, Mr. Speaker, in that
Honorable
act,
Kingdom, please
yes,
Honorable Kingdom, just a moment, Honorable Kingdom. Honorable Joshua, please, can you unmute yourself? You are disturbing the chamber. You unmute yourselves. Honorable Joshua, continue. Honorable Kingdom.
yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you. Thank you so.
Yes.
So I was saying
Please
that
continue.
in 1997, yeah, Mr. Speaker, please, can you hear me? All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 1997, the Road Fund Act was passed, and at 536, established the Road Fund Act. This act was meant to generate funding or revenue from the road usage, because until then, road maintenance and rehabilitation is coming from government budget, and because it was eating to the budget, the government decided that will help in maintaining the road, or the road will generate revenue for itself. That is why the act was passed in Parliament in 1997. Now, agencies that are responsible for collecting such revenues are SEPS, that is the Custom Exercise and Preventive Service, the DVLA, and then Ghana Highway Authority. Ghana Highway Authority, Section 2 of Act 540 of the Road Fund Act 1999 established the Ghana Highway Authority mandated to purposely generate funds that will rehabilitate and then maintain the road network, the road infrastructure of this country. Seriously, the road toll has helped the country in generating at least 78 million Ghana cedis annually. But surprisingly, last year, November 17, when the finance minister presented the budget for the fiscal year 2022, the minister announced that the government is going to abolish the road toll and introduce an electronic levy. Mr. Speaker, between November 17 and December 31st, it may surprise you that Ghana lost 7 million between the cancellation and the end of the year, within that short period, within 45 or 44 days. The Ghana government lost 7 million Ghana cedis because of the cancellation. Now, e-levy, the e-levy that they have used to substitute the road toll, with the claim that the traffic congestion at the road toll is retarding productivity, which is a fallacy, because the road toll or the revenue generated by the road or the Ghana Highway Authority are supposed to help expand the road infrastructure of this country. We don't know how this government is managing that fund. And then the e-levy is projected to give the country 6.9 billion a year. Now, the e-levy started May 1st, 2022. But a stout member of the MPP, of the ruling government, and then a close cousin to the President of the Republic, Gabi Ochredako, said, as at now, we can only, or they, I will not say we, because they are in charge of the purse, they are in charge of the economic management. So he said they can only generate 10% of the purported 6.9 billion. Where is this country heading to? Misappropriation and then misplaced priorities is running this country into economic chaos. Mr. Speaker, consequently, many people have lost their jobs. Those who are working at the tolls have lost their job. Adding to the jobless that we already have in the system, the unemployed youth that we have parading themselves every day, shouting, crying for help, wailing for government to consider them in employment. The thousands have been sacked from their work, and they are also back in the house to join this unemployed youth. Mr. Speaker, again, this clueless act of government, this negligence act of government has caused a lot of financial loss to the state, because the Roto, as I mentioned earlier, generates 78 million Ghana cedis annually for this government. And half a loaf, as the good old book said, Mr. Speaker, half loaf of bread is better than none. Half loaf of bread is better than none. We are dreaming about a land that we have not seen.
Honorable member, you have just a minute, so kindly wrap up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So we are dreaming of a land that we have not seen somewhere. We are seeing the crowd gathering, and then because we think it's going to rain, we have poured the one we already have in the pot away. Mr. Speaker, it is funny. So majority of this house have to admit the fact that it is their cluelessness, it is their solely irresponsibility that brought this country to this state that we are now. And the government and its management team must wake up. They cannot run away from this, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
And they themselves will agree to this.
Honorable
Thank you,
member.
Mr. Speaker.
Thank you so much. I believe your points are well made, and then we are all taking notice of all those things. Honorable members, if we have Honorable Salam, Honorable Salam in the house.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I think.
Honorable Salam.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, sir. Majority Leader.
I think our second speaker for the Majority Caucus is back in the chamber. I don't know if it can be done so that he'll be given some few minutes.
Fine. I'll give him because he was almost done. I'll give him 2 minutes to wrap up with what he wanted to say. Then Honorable Salam takes over from there. Right.
Thank you.
That's okay. So, Honorable Joshua, you can
Thank
then
you, right,
wrap up. You have 2 minutes to do that.
Thank you, right, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I was indicating earlier that the increase in demand for foreign currencies, since most businesses in Ghana recovering from the COVID-19 shock, has also accounted for the depreciation of this cedi. Mr. Speaker, one thing that the minority failed to look at is the inflation in foreign direct investment and the loss of investor confidence in the economy. How does this happen, Mr. Speaker? The US inflation has risen from 1.35% in December 2021 to 7.46% in February 2022. The US Federal Reserve has responded by increasing the interest rates, making the US sovereign bond very attractive. Due to this, many investors are now selling their bonds in developing countries like Ghana to purchase those of the advanced economies like the US. Mr. Speaker, nobody can see what to make good benefits for him or her, but still wants the poor. Because once the inflation rates of the US has risen, they wanted to reduce it. How would they need more money in their economy? So they decided to increase their interest rates for their bonds. So all those who are investors who have bonds in Ghana are selling their bonds to purchase that of the US Federal Reserve. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the government has made many efforts to demonstrate to the investment community its ability to mobilize domestic revenue to service its debt and regain investor confidence through various initiatives, and popular among them is the implementation of the electronic levy, the e-levy as we know, to access Eurobonds to signal international investors that government of Ghana is on a fiscal consolidation path, and this can raise domestic revenue to service its debt. But rather unfortunately, some of our colleagues at the minority has made attempts to discourage the public to pay this levy. Mr. Speaker, if this is not an attempt to discredit this government and make it unpopular, what else could it be? I leave it to their conscience to judge. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for your time.
Thank you, Honorable Joshua. Honorable Salam, please, if you are in the house, kindly take the chamber and Honorable Salam, are you?
Honorable
if you're in the house.
Speaker. Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, Honorable Majority Leader.
Yes, actually, Honorable Salam is in the chamber, but as we speak now, he's in a trip where the background may not help us. So kindly, the deputy majority leader will take charge in the person of Honorable Justice Kwedu. Thank you very much.
Honorable Justice Kwedu, please, if you are in the house.
Can I speak? I think I have now reached.
Majority Leader, I think you've not really done.
Is this Honorable Salam? Can I speak?
Honorable Salam.
Yeah, please.
Majority Leader.
Reached, please.
Okay.
Majority Leader.
More clear indications that he has right now reached, so he can speak. Thank you very much.
So okay then, Honorable Salam, please go ahead and make your point. Okay. Now, okay. Honorable Joshua, please unmute mute your mic. Honorable Joshua, please mute your mic so that there won't be any feedback when Honorable Salam is in the chamber. Take a minute. All right, sure. Thank you. Honorable Salam, please, you're on the floor.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity offered to me to speak on this motion before the House. I'm Honorable Dis Salam, YMP for Akan constituency and a member of the Noble Majority Caucus. Mr. Speaker, as we are speaking about the motion, the Republic State of Ghana's economy, that is solely government mismanagement. Mr. Speaker, the minority side cannot argue that the deprived state of Ghana economy solely government mismanagement, forgetting that our own attitude has contributed to the state of the economy we all are kind of. Mr. Speaker, we cannot talk about Ghana's economy without the government, but without withstanding the art and attitude of the Ghanaian citizens. Mr. Speaker, the high percentage of foreign goods by the Ghanaian citizens, which has brought about the increment of imports as compared to exports. Mr. Speaker, an economy with strong fundamental is one that is resilient, has a well-developed export base, but Ghana cannot boast of that because of our taste for foreign goods. Mr. Speaker, the Ghanaian citizen, as a matter of fact, prefer which has brought about the high imports. Mr. Speaker, when there is small import as compared to export, it puts pressure on the city. As a result, devalue the city in an increasing rate. Mr. Speaker, when the city depreciates, it brings about increment in price of goods and services. As a result, brings about inflation. Depreciation of currency, Mr. Speaker, has forgotten that because of our taste for foreign goods, Ghana, because of continue to buy more foreign currency to meet its import demand. Mr. Speaker, if all citizens or all of us can agree and declare our demand for foreign goods, it will go a long way in stabilizing our currency and bringing the cost of goods and goods down. Mr. Speaker, as we cannot forget about the rapid growth of Ghana's economy, that is 7% from 2017 to 2019, Ghana's economy is projected to remain relatively strong over the medium term, reported by the high price for key exports and strong domestic demand. Growth has projected to reach 5.5 in 2022 and average support and average 5.3% over 2022. Growth is expected to be broad-based, led by the agriculture and service, but because of our high demand for foreign goods, which as at June 2022, import alone took up to $1,453.16 in 2021. Import alone represents 28.53% of our GDP as at 2027 to 2029. Decline commodity exports with an overall GDP of as low as 0.4, and as it stands now, our inflation rate has skyrocketed to 31.7, with the cedi depreciating by over 30%. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues at the minority side will argue strongly that government mismanagement has brought about the deplorable state of our economy. But I want them to know that it's not solely government mismanagement, but also our very own activities of we the citizens who also contribute to the deplorable state of our economy. Mr. Speaker, if the minority side will side by God and tell us the truth, you will find out that the product that we all use have all foreign goods, which they fantasize so much, forgetting that that import itself will bring our economy down. Mr. Speaker, we the majority side are not saying government mismanagement has not brought about the deplorable state of our economy, but we want the minority side to be aware that government is not solely responsible for the deplorable state of our economy. Our taste for foreign goods has also contributed to the deplorable state of our economy, which has brought about increment in inflation rate and depreciation of our currency. Mr. Speaker, to end with, I hereby end my submission because with look of things, the minority side has already lost their stand in the motion by saying government is solely responsible for the deplorable state of our economy, forgetting the very activities and bad patronage for foreign use by we the citizens. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Salam. Thank you very much for making this very snappy. Honorable Charles, the minority leader.
All right. Good evening once again in the House. The Right Honorable Speaker. I believe you can hear me, Speaker.
Yes, leader, I can hear you properly.
Okay. Right Honorable Speaker, I am Honorable Charles Kwame Mapok, representing the good people of Ho Central, and I am the servant for the good people in the minority caucus. Speaker, quickly, as I take you to the Constitution of Ghana, Article 57, in Chapter 8, I'm reading subclause 1. It says, there shall be a president of the Republic of Ghana, who shall be the head of state of government and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, this is the basis or the fundamental basis why the MPP in opposition rise at every lecture they went to accuse the ex-Wal Mahama administration for things they claim were not doing so well. They made us understand by several of their education through their town hall meetings that the fundamentals were weak. And if the fundamentals were weak, the cedi depreciation, the exchange rate, the inflation, and so forth would expose you. Mr. Speaker, we stand in a day today that the same people who preach this message to us feel this message cannot be turned back to them. This is a message, and this is a country where you are free to go ahead and speak, but when it is your turn for that same message to get to you, we find it difficult to take it. Mr. Speaker, Dr. Baumia has held a number of lectures on the Ghanaian economy, both in opposition and in government, and has turned over a lot of hard truth into lies, propaganda, and he has even propagated his own theories in this country just to make sure he gets into power. Mr. Speaker, he is in power today and he has nothing to show. I am not surprised that members from the majority caucus this evening are unable to even speak to the fact, knowing very well that we are writing the history of our country. And we youths of today must stand by the facts, not to follow the propaganda that our leaders are putting across. YEC is giving us a platform to be able to be leaders of truth and not leaders of lies. We are not to support their lies, even if they are not true, just because we get anything from them. Mr. Speaker, I am not surprised at all today to hear members of the majority talk about corruption being a reason, and it is because of the members that are being placed there. Who appoints these people to be heads of these institutions? The Constitution is clear and the responsibility lies on the president. The president is the one who appoints these people. In my house, when I do something wrong and anybody comes in, you knock at the door and you speak to my father or my mother. The leader of the house takes that responsibility. And the responsibility of the day goes solely to nobody else by the president. Ghanaians are doing well on day in, day out, paying taxes upon taxes that this administration has poured on them. We are suffering, but even just this month beginning, we've started paying more tariffs in terms of our utilities. But after all this money are being gathered to give to these leaders, we come back and accountability becomes an issue. COVID levy was imposed on us. We are paying, but we can't see anything of it. Just for the Auditor General to come and tell us monies given to these people to handle cannot be accounted for. Where are we leading ourselves to? And we claim this is a challenge of the citizens. Mr. Speaker, I beg to differ. Honorable Richard came on and could not even say anything, so I'll even forget him. A point of banter from Honorable Joshua Ajakpa, who was trying to pour debt on the eye of the reasonable and educated colleagues we have on this platform, that fuel prices increased and Ghana drills fuel. And when the price increased, we got windfalls. Where are those monies? It was an advantage to the Ghanaian community when the prices were going up, because we had our own fields where we drill fuel. So why complain today? Honorable Ajakpa again made the claim that Ghana is an import-dependent country. Whose responsibility is it to make sure that the propaganda they brought into power, one district, one factory, comes to play, and we'll be able to get the factories working to feed our indigenous people and even send part of this product out? But even before we do that, this same administration is collapsing businesses up and down. The collapse of banks has led to the collapse of several institutions. How then do we not import the food if we want to sustain ourselves? How then do we not import the other products? This is the challenge this country is being faced with. My honorable who just finished talking, Honorable Salam, was talking about investor confidence being lost. Investor confidence will be lost if your treasury bill rate is even less than your inflation rate. Why should I come and put my money down and at the end of the tenor, what I get cannot even match the inflation? Anybody who do a little of economics will tell you that once supply is high, you sell more. And in the instances that supply is low, you don't sell it. And that is what is putting us in the position we are today. Mr. Speaker, the Ghanaian cedi has been declared as the worst performing currency in Africa and in the world. This is a documentary by Bloomberg on the 17th of August, 2022. I will not be far to just quote from 5th August, 2022. This was a publication from Standard & Poor, which degraded the Ghanaian economy from a B+ to a CCC. It is just to say that we are living in a junk economy. Mr. Speaker, standing here to debate this motion is just to tell our members to stand on the right truth
And I believe even they themselves understand that where we find ourselves today, there is nothing to tell than they themselves not being able to get money to buy the little gobe we used to eat. Today, if you don't have 10 cities and above, you cannot even eat the gobe we used to eat at 2 cities. And this is to be blamed on the citizen. The citizenry will do everything possible not to spend much. But because somebody must eat, this is where we go. The finance minister is having his own institution that is going up and down and borrowing so much money that this country does not even need to an extent. We were complaining that we are having excess capacity in Ghana, but this excess capacity, we have gotten to a point that we are having doomsaw bring back. But they are complaining day in out that is not doomsaw. There are huge loans. Currently, the debt to GDP is 84.6%. It was left for them by the SWAL administration as 57.3%. Mr. Speaker, who is to take responsibility? Who is leading the public? Who is leading the public first? Mr. Speaker, policies by this administration is making things so difficult for us. And that is why we are unable to even go forward in some of the things. Mr. Speaker, I'll take you back to the Constitution, Article 87. Article 87 has it very basic for us. And it speaks basically about one of the duties of the Attorney General. Article 87, subclause 3, Article 87, clause 3, subclause 3 says that the Attorney General shall be responsible for the initiation and conduct of all prosecution and criminal offenses. Mr. Speaker, Auditor General on day in, day out, at the end of every year, comes out with a report. This report has its provisions that the Attorney General can just take and run prosecution and criminal prosecutions on people that are being indicted in those reports. But we live in a country, since Honorable Domelevo was forcibly sacked out of office, we never saw anything called surcharge or disallowance by the current Auditor General. But the Constitution of Ghana, Article 87, has it that he has the powers to surcharge. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion,
you should be wrapping up. Minority Leader, you should be wrapping up.
That is fine. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the collapse of the banks in Ghana cannot be blamed on the citizenry. The huge cost of running government in Ghana cannot be blamed on the citizenry. Where a president decides to be bathing in the sky cannot be blamed on the citizenry. Printing new notes to suffer us cannot be blamed on the citizenry. The corruption and the scandals in this administration cannot be blamed on the citizenry. Mr. Speaker, at this note, I want to invite all members from the majority caucus and even other caucuses that have joined us this evening to join the minority as we stand affirming the motion that this mess in which we find ourselves is to be blamed on the government of the day. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Minority Leader. The Majority Leader.
Thank you very much.
Please kindly take the floor.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable. I hope my background is clear.
Yeah, it is okay, sir.
Thank you very much. Before I commence, I want to put my dear Honorable Minority Leader to a point of order for misquoting our third speaker, Honorable Salam, mentioning economic interests, of which he did not. So please, Honorable, next time don't come to the house and come and throw dust into our very cherished and loyal members. Again, surging forward, it is very pathetic that the minority caucus could present two giant men, their first speaker and then the second speaker, to come and tell this honorable house that COVID-19 and Russia-Ukraine war cannot be blamed on as a sole responsibility of the Ghanaian economy. Mr. Speaker, I am Honorable Timothy Tuabu, the majority leader Minister for Education, Volta OT region, who tripled as the chairperson of the Business and Research Committee, here speaking against the motion, the deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy as solely government mismanagement, quote and unquote. Mr. Speaker, following the argument keenly, it is indeed an undiluted truth and indisputable fact that government mismanagement is, among others, a reason for the deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy. But Mr. Speaker, for my dear honorable of the minority caucus to emphasize on the sole fact that it is that solely government mismanagement that has led to the deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy, I say it is an absolute, highly fabricated, fraudulent, and should not be considered and recorded in any archives of YEC. Mr. Speaker, it seems to me and to the honorable majority caucus that our dear honorable members of the minority caucus did not well lettered themselves about the motion before the August House. Hence, right from the onset of the minority caucus proceeding to speak for the motion before the House, I saw no need, Mr. Speaker, for the majority caucus to have argued and debated with them because, one, Mr. Speaker, the minority caucus have lost the debate before the birth of this particular motion we are here today debating about. Number two, I am more convinced that they will end up deviating as they have deviated in the case of the first two speakers, in addition to their own leader, and fabricate a story to throw dust into the eyes of our very loyal, cherished audience. Fast forward, Mr. Speaker. For the minority to have agreed to speak for the motion, the deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy, thus solely government mismanagement, quote and unquote, Mr. Speaker, it gives me a signal that the minority caucus have absolutely and totally refused to educate themselves about the external and internal driving forces of every economy within our very cosmos, of which government have little or no control over. Mr. Speaker, my affable speakers for the majority caucus have already done due justice to the motion before this very House. Therefore, I want to like to saddle the House with my talk. So honorably, I would like to painstakingly take it upon myself as an educationist and not the majority leader at this point in time to actually educate the minority caucus about only one of the external and internal driving forces of every economy within our very cosmos, of which the government have little or no control over. For the rest of the forces or factors, I pray the minority caucus leader to reorganize his honorable members for an extra classes where they have to pay, of course, Mr. Speaker. Surging forward, Mr. Speaker, outbreak of diseases such as COVID-19 pandemic is one of the external and internal driving forces that can redirect the swift movement of every economy to a state of shambles, of which the Ghanaian economy is absolutely not excluded. To emphatically state, Mr. Speaker, the current government started very well when they assumed office. Inflation rate drastically reduced. GDP was on a normal. CD was stabilized with the dollar. Prices of commodities and services gradually reduced. The economy has been rated one of the best in Africa, where the current government has to pride herself as having the men and also arrested the dollar and give the keys to the then IGP. Mr. Speaker, not too long after the incumbent government attained power, over a period of few years, 2019 to 2021, the country and our very cosmos encountered the wrath of COVID-19 pandemic. As a result of this pandemic that is still in existence, human workforce were lost, jobs were shattered, borders, harbors, and ports, where foreign and internal economic and commercial activities take place in order to generate revenue for the government, were closed. Women lockdown, which has also restricted economic activities where production takes place to maximize productivity and GDP, were also shattered, rendering every single economy, especially the African economies, to a state of hopelessness and being set to woes and shambles. Mr. Speaker, empirically and statistically, outbreak of diseases such as COVID-19 have clear and sustained evidence to tell the minority caucus that it is not and never only government mismanagement that has resulted the Ghanaian economy in shambles. Mr. Speaker, in spite of government mismanagement as claimed by the minority caucus, the adverse effect of COVID-19 on the Ghanaian economy is humongous and relatively uncomparable. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in the enormous unemployment rate of labor workforce in Ghana. According to Trade Union Congress reports, about 42,000 people lost their jobs by April only in Ghana, where an estimated 75 of them were small traders, daily workers, and wage laborers. This pandemic has constrained to a significant number of salary workers who lost their jobs, and over 400,000 businessmen and women have lost their jobs as of July 2020. Mr. Speaker, what can we say of 2022? According to World Bank statistics, last updated April 7, 2022, headline inflation averaged 7.8% in the first half of 2021 and ended at 10% as full year average. As of end February 2022, inflation reached 15.17%, the highest level since December 2016. Mr. Speaker, again, according to World Data Info, the inflation rates for consumer prices in Ghana moved over the past 56 years between negative 8.4% and 122.9%. For 2021, an inflation rate of 10.0% was calculated during the observation period from 1965 to 2021. The average inflation rate was 27.5% per year. Overall, the prices increases was 29,510,443.175%. Mr. Speaker, an item that was cost 100 cedis in 1995 was so charged, Mr. Speaker, 29,510,443.70 cedis in the beginning of 2022. If not COVID-19, where in this world can this happen? Mr. Speaker, inflation as we talk has reached 31.7% as of July 2022. Exchange rate $1 is equal to 9.95 cedis, and our debt to GDP has skyrocketed to 81.80%, the highest in history so far, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if indeed it is the same government who started very well and have been much appreciated by international economic institutions, and now because of COVID-19 making the economy dysfunctional, and the minority is here to tell this honorable house that the deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy, that's solely government mismanagement, and the minority leader is citing issues and fabricating some stories that permit me to say might not be permitted to present to a house full of honorable members. Mr. Speaker, I will categorically state here today that the Honorable Minority Caucus are not being loyal and cherished members and good citizens to both YEC and our motherland, respectively. How shameful can you purport an erroneous fabricated story and present it to a house full of honorable members? Mr. Speaker, in order not to creep and relegate the intelligence of my dear honorable members of the Minority Caucus to the background, and because of our time, I would like to end here because I'm very well convinced within my peaceful soul that they have regretted their stance in speaking for the motion, that the deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy, that's solely government mismanagement, and are ready to repent and move their petty caucus from the darkness to the light, where the most honorable members of the Majority Caucus are. There, we shall come together as youth to look for better means to make Ghana a favorable place, rather than blaming the deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy on sole mismanagement of the government. Mr. Speaker, I want this question particularly should be referred to the Minority Caucus leader, that as he is there, the picture that appears on his on his interface when he was presenting was in suit. He was in suit. Would he like to wear this ordinary woven materials of the Ghanaian? Absolutely no. So he is actually part of the cause that is leading to high importation, and therefore he should look at that and should not blame the government for the deplorable state of the Ghanaian economy. Mr. Speaker, I rest my submissions, arguments, lectures, reservations, and keen advice to the Minority Caucus. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Majority Leader, for that insightful presentation. Honorable members, I want to use this opportunity to thank you all for these great presentations. It is indeed our time as youth in this country to take the bull by the horn, right? Yes, we have to work hard to turn things around in this country. One way or the other, we are all in this together. Whether you are majority or you are minority, we are all suffering together. I hope that's the case, right? That's the case. Whether you are majority leader, you are minority leader, the cost, the high cost of, we are all bearing it. As in the effect is upon everybody. The first deputy speaker to take the charge as some important calls. Some people want to have, so I will let the first deputy speaker to take over. When I'm back, I will come back to carry on. I will give him a notification that I'm in if I could conclude. Or whenever I am not in, he can deputy speaker. Right now, please take over.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
All right, sure. Thank you so much. I'll be back soon.
I think we have had, just like the Right Honorable Speaker has indicated, we have had a very fruitful discussion. The debates and arguments were well thought out, and then it was a nice conclusion there by the Right Honorable Speaker. Shall we? Hello, can we hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. We now move to the next item. I think the debate is over. We may adjourn this sitting for today. I think our next meeting, the sitting will be adjourned sine then. That is, we will go back as a house to agree on our next sitting day. I will humbly call on the majority leader to give us a closing remark, but not in relation to the debate or the topic under discussion. So he should give us, the majority leader, if you are on call, please unmute and then give us a closing remark for just 2 minutes. And then my minority leader will also give us his closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I really appreciate your leadership, and I'm most grateful. I want to say a very big thank you to our GS for his time being with us. And I want to appreciate all other members who necessarily might not be members of Volta Regional House, but they have made time to come to have a take on our today's meeting. We really appreciate them. And to the Honorable Majority Caucus members, I really, really appreciate you for your time, as well as the Honorable Minority Caucus leaders and members. We really appreciate you, especially Honorable Minority Leader. We appreciate everyone for the time. And this has been very much educative. Therefore, we know our stance as citizens and youth. Whenever people are arguing, we will know what to say and what not to say. I'm very much grateful for the time.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Honorable Charles, Minority Leader, if you're on call, please, your final remarks very close.
All right, thank you very much, the Right Honorable Speaker and the House. I am much grateful for the opportunity once again. Being a good servant of my caucus, I'm only here to appreciate everybody who made it to the sitting. It has been a colorful one, of course, with both sides having their debate. And I believe the General Secretary have seen what has happened here. The Volta Regional Caucus is a force to reckon with. And we are prepared anytime, any day to give the best to the duty that we've been called to. In my caucus, we basically say it is a call to action. But before I conclude, it is unfortunate to have a leader from the majority caucus to come out and call a leader with names. This is a learning ground. I'm not taking that, but I believe we could do better with that. If I share information which you think you have reasons with, in an academic platform like this, there is a better way to put it than to call me names. I rise to second the motion that this meeting is adjourned sine die. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Charles. Indeed, I will pick up from where your last point about name calling. It is rightly on my desk to address that issue, that this is a learning environment. We are here to learn, unlearn, and relearn. There are certain things that we do that we have to unlearn and relearn certain things and to learn as well. So this is our major first sitting. I think in our subsequent sitting, we should know how to address our comrades, our colleagues in the House. Thank you very much. Any other information from the Speaker's Directorate will be duly relayed to you on the official regional page. If the General Secretary, Honorable Edward Malfo, is on call, place your final remark before the